Dhaggeeffattoota Shanan Show akkam jirtu kuni daraaraa daadhiitii keessummaa addaansanii qabadee dhiyaadhe har'a keessummaan keenya Yassin Juma jedhama. Yassin Juma gaazexeessaa Keeniyaa yoo ta'u dhimma Oromoo irratti yeroo dheeraadhaaf hojjechaa ture. Haa ta'uyyuu malee afaan Ingiliffaan haasofna. Afaan Oromoo waan xiqqoo beekuuf haasofni keenya bal'aan afaan Ingiliffaa ta'a jechuudha. Our listeners, we have a special guest today. His name is Yassin Juma. Yassin Juma is a Kenyan journalist who used to report on the Oromo case, especially on the OLF. So today we're gonna have a brief discussion from Nairobi to Addis Ababa. Stay there, listen to us. Yassin, welcome to Shanan Show. Thank you for coming here. And thank you for becoming one of my guests. I appreciate and I appreciate your time. So, Yassin, there is a main reason we have you here. You are a well-known journalist in Kenya, and also you have a connection with the Oromo people and also with Somalians. So we want you to share your experience with us. First, who is Yassin Juma? Were you born? And tell us about your childhood, growing up, what it looks like growing up in Kenya.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that took me back, how many years? I think 43 years back. I am 43 years old myself.
Still a young man.
Not really young. I'm a grandfather now.
Wow.
I have 7 kids, alhamdulillah. Well, I was born in the coastal city of Mombasa. That's where I grew up, at a place called Buxton, Mombasa. Then I went to school in Sparky Primary School in Mombasa. But after 2 years into school, my father shifted from Mombasa to Nairobi. So, if you ask me my identity, I'm a Kenyan Muslim journalist who was raised in Eastlands, Nairobi, because my identity is much about the Eastlands part of Nairobi, which is not more like affluential as the Westland part side of Nairobi. So much of what I know and my childhood was around growing up in Eastlands, Nairobi, which is for those who know Eastlands, it's not it's more of like it's more like you know, lower middle class or middle class life that the people live in that part of Nairobi.
Actually, I know Nairobi very well. I know where the area you explained very well. So before I bring you to Oromo case, let's see what it looks like to be a journalist in Kenya.
Well, to be a journalist in Kenya, well, I would break it down into you know, stages or periods, because every country, you know, has its stages and in history, in whatever career it is, and journalism is part of it. I'd say Kenya has come a long way to be where it is right now as we are speaking. And I do not think there's any other countries, I mean, maybe 1 or 2 that rival Kenya when it comes to journalism and especially TV journalism. Kenya is really on top when we talk about news when we talk about production, and for instance, you can't. I mean, its comparison maybe with or other competitive would be maybe South Africa or Nigeria,
or other developed countries,
or other developed countries. Yeah, exactly. Kenya is really competitive, and
yeah. So basically, you're telling me that there is a freedom of journalism, and there is no government or other societies attack on journalists, like in Ethiopia.
I wouldn't say. I mean, every country, even including the so-called developed country, have their challenges when it comes to freedom on reporting what you want. Especially when you're criticizing the authorities. I mean, we see it even in the US. And Trump would, rubbish
on CNN.
some channels to be fake news or something like that. I mean, this is a challenge that I think is across, but it's more like it's more experience, or it's more seen here in Africa and the third world countries. So Kenya does not escape from that, especially in the last 5 years. I think we've seen media or journalists who talk their mind a bit suppressed. And that includes me. I was arrested some time back, I think 5 years ago, for reporting about an attack on the Kenya army in Somalia, which the government did not want the public to know exactly what was happening. It was an attack by a militant group, Al-Shabaab, on El Ade military camp. So the government didn't want the public to know, and I happen to be one of the journalists who is well connected. I have a very good network in Somalia, so I get to know what happens when it happens. So I got to know that over 200 Kenyan soldiers were killed in that attack, which is the highest number ever of Kenyan soldiers killed in a war since our independence in 1963. So, I mean, that was information that the government wouldn't. Well, I was like 1 minute into going to be arraigned into a court of law, but they changed their mind, and I was turned back. I think basically because they had no case against me. I mean,
they let you go.
There was no case against me. So they just decided to.
So Yassin, we have a more important thing than most we just talk right now. How you came to know the Oromo people? Who is the first person you ever know, the Oromo man?
That's quite an interesting question that I get a lot from the Oromo people. They always ask me, "Hey, Yassin, how did you? Why Oromo of all the people?" I mean, because if you ask me now, I think I'm more like I relate myself more to the Oromo people and the Oromo struggle than any other ethnic group in Africa. First of all, the Oromo people are the largest ethnic group in our region. We can't escape from that fact. I mean, like 80 million plus. That is the largest ethnic group in this region, and that includes the Horn of the whole of Horn of Africa. So the first time I got to know about the Oromo, I mean, what we are taught in Kenyan history is. I think the Oromos that I knew first were the Oromos in Kenya, because
the refugees.
No, not really. I'm talking about Kenyans now.
Oh, the Kenyan Oromo.
The
Borana community.
But you see, the only problem I had in the past was that I didn't know that there were actually Oromos in Kenya. So I assume the Borans, the Gabra, and the Orma are not, part of the Oromo nation.
You didn't know they are the part of the Oromo nation. Okay.
That's the Kenyan system, education system. That's how they.
How does it teach? Tell us.
And I've been critical about it, and we started a campaign to have the name Gala removed from the Kenyan education system, which because Gala is derogatory, but it's still being used. So we started a campaign. I talked to the Ministry of Education, and we've been pressuring them to change that name, Gala, because that is what we know about the Oromos. That's the name we use for the Oromos in Kenya. So from Marsabit, Isiolo, and Tana River, these are three big counties. Oromo have a very big chunk of land in Kenya.
Yes,
all the way from Moyale up to the coast. Which is, it's. I don't think there's any other ethnic group that occupies a large, a vast land like the Oromos, beside the Somalis in Kenya. That is. So those are the people I came to know. I knew these are the Galas as our education system taught us, but later on and I used to visit my friend. He's also actually is my cousin, is a distant cousin. He's called Clive Wangudi. Many Oromos in the diaspora would know Clive Wangudi.
He lives in
second street. He's
well known.
He's a light-skinned guy. It's the dad is Italian and the mother is Kikuyu. But he's an activist. So he was in the front line of helping Oromos. Any Oromo who had issues with the police, they would come to Clive's place. So when I would go to Isli, spend a night at Clive's place. Twice I saw two people who came there, and they identified and I asked him, who are these people? And they said, these are the Oromo. For those who know Second Street, there's most of the flats are resided by the Oromo. So they would come there and complain that, hey, man, we have this problem, or this person is harassing, and Clive would help them. Clive Wangudi would help them. So he was very popular amongst them. So that's how I came to know about now this Oromos.
Oh, so you saw the guy, with Clive, your friend. Actually, he's your relative, right? Relative to you. And he say, who is this? And he said, so this is the Oromo people.
I had to ask him who are the Oromo men. I mean, these guys, they just look, for me, they look Ethiopian. I think I assumed there was a tribe called Ethiopian back then. This was maybe in my first or second year in university now. I'm talking about first or second year in university.
So this is about 20 years ago?
2000 and, let's say 2002, 2000 and around.
Close to 18, 17 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he explained to me that Oromos they speak the same language as our people, the Boran,
Garba,
the Orma, and the Gare. So they kind of related, and they are from Ethiopia, and the reason is that they've been persecuted by
Ethiopian government.
I really wanted to understand why are they in Kenya? I don't see any trouble in Ethiopia. So I got to understand that there are a majority people who are being oppressed by a minority people in their own land, and this and that is their struggle. Then afterwards, my mother used to work for IOM, International Organization. So when I would visit my mom, I'm sure that many Oromos in the diaspora know the office, the Rapta Road office for IOM. So I would go at the Rapta Road, Westland's office.
Westland, I know that office too.
And to see my mother, and I would meet Oromos lining up and Somalis. So I'm somebody who like had interest to know, languages from different places. So when I meet an Oromo, I would like, say, hey, Danane. So the first time I greeted one Danane, was like, he looked at me and like, he was really not happy.
He didn't like it.
Yeah. So I didn't understand why. So he pulled me beside and told me, you know what, we are Oromo and we are proud of
our language.
I didn't know. I thought, all Ethiopians are one and they speak in the same language. So he kind of explained to me that over centuries they've been denied this and that and that and that. So from there I got interest to know about Oromos. When I started working as a journalist at NTV, after getting to know, Clive, after Clive introduced to me about the Oromos, I got to know many Oromos along 2nd Street. Then it went to 10th Street. There was my friend who used to have a restaurant at 10th. It's called Gutu. I think now he's in California. So I came to know many people, many Oromos. And the reason why now the Oromos got closer to me was in case they are arrested, they would like, hey, Yassin, we need your assistant here. There's 1, 2, 3 persons at Pangani police station, and we really, you're influential with the police. You're a journalist. You're a well-known person. One call, you can help us. So that's how I got. So if there were like activities, Oromo activities, they would invite me, or they would invite me to their homes. That is basically how I came to know about
interesting
the Oromos in Nairobi.
Let's move forward. Let's see your documentary that obviously affected your life. The title is Inside Rebel Territory.
Yeah.
How you did this documentary, and why you did it, and also how that affected your personal life.
Okay. Well, I've done so many documentaries, and that is just one of documentaries that I've done in my 16 years in journalism. But there's something special about this documentary. This documentary, I did it out of my passion for journalism, and I did it also out of my passion to see, to have this majority people's story be known to the rest of the world. Because at that particular time when I was doing this documentary, there wasn't much being talked or in the news, especially in the international arena, about the Oromo people.
About the Oromo.
If you would check on the internet or anywhere, because I was trying to do my own research before I went, but there's completely nothing about
nothing there.
Oromo liberation, Oromo struggle, and the internet. You understand?
Yeah, I do.
So I did it out of the need for me to have the world know about the struggle of Oromo people, because people just like used to assume that maybe these Oromos are they're fleeing to, they
flee their country for some reason,
for economic reason. If you ask me, that was the reason why I used to think, but later on I just realized, I was very wrong. So that's the reason why I did that. But I looked for contacts. I had the interest. First of all, there are two contacts who came to look for me.
Maybe regarding from OLF or Motivation Front Group.
Regarding, and I'm talking both factions of OLF. First one came, I think they looked for me in Nairobi and asked for a meeting, because of one reason. I used to cover the region a lot. I covered. I'm a journalist whose expertise is on regional affairs. So I was covering South Sudan conflict. I was covering Somalia conflict.
So you try to cover all the Horn of Africa.
Yeah. But I didn't have much contact with the Ethiopia. But interestingly enough, the OLF had approached me and I said, "Hey, we seen you do a lot about Somalia.
Why not us?
Why not about you see the same
also.
also ONLF also from Ogaden region also came and approached me and say, "Hey, Yassin, we seen a lot of work about Somalia. We invite you to come to Jigjiga and do a story."
Do something.
So, but the OLF followed it up, the first faction, but some of those communication, died down. And I think one thing about Ethiopians, that was my assumption about Ethiopians back then was, and I understand because they grew. I mean, they grew under socialist Mengistu socialist. So there wasn't much giving information.
No,
that's something funny that nowadays I laugh with the Oromos that I meet. I'm like, you never told me your real name. Why? I mean, the first time I knew your real name was when you got arrested, and so they would never tell you, but with the time they got to trust me and open up.
Okay.
So I think later, much later, they thought, okay, we could trust this guy, then invite him over to our military training camp and let him tell the world.
How long it takes you to get there?
First of all, it took 2-3 years for them to accept.
Oh, really?
To go.
So I know Inside Rebel Territory was the documentary was done in 2006. Am I right?
2009.
2009? Yeah. 2000. So you started in 2006.
Around there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know why, but they knew it's something that it's going to build them and give them a platform, because NTV is the largest, one of the largest media groups in not in Kenya but in Africa. I mean Nation Media Group, which NTV is under, and at that time also YouTube had also come.
YouTube also, and posting up,
Oromo diaspora was now becoming active through social media. So it was a good timing, I'd say, for the documentary.
Right time, so from that documentary, the two names come to my mind, Guracho and Falmatu. So tell us your experience in the military camp of OLF, and also specifically about these two soldiers.
That's great. Well, maybe I'll take you back to how I accessed the military, the training camp, because one of the questions always raised is the people ask me is, where exactly was that training camp? So this is what happened. All of a sudden, I was in the newsroom working. I was rushing for a 7 p.m. story. Something